I'm actually finding this story really, really shocking. I find it shocking how I thought it was from the BBC when it obviously from Channel 4, but it's really strange because the more I think about it, I feel like the more my opinion changes about the situation. Because it's like at first the video tries to make out that this is a case of domestic abuse, domestic violence, and it portrays the guy in a terrible way, which I'm not denying because it's things that he said and the way that he talks, it sounds disgusting, and therefore, you know, but the more I think about it, I just feel like she the whole video is her looking paralyzed, and then you start thinking of all the cases where people have been, like beaten up, abused, literally tortured by their partner, by their ex. And so I was watching this, and my first instinct was to kind of relate it to that. This girl has obviously been beaten or smacked or battered by a boyfriend, and then you start thinking, okay, I hate him, and yeah, he deserves to go into prison. And then they start showing the evidence of the abuse, and the evidence that they had was that she spent a night in a shed, allegedly because she was trying to hide bruises that were on her arm because she had been hit. But the bruises, to me, they looked pretty. I have bruises that size on my leg all the time. I don't know why, but sometimes I smack my legs in the middle of the night and I can get bruises on my legs. And they're actually bigger. They can be bigger than what she had on her arm. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. But I saw that as a warning that maybe this story is one-sided. It's the mother talks about how this is trying to give her daughter's side, and yet nothing, very little. She asked her daughter a question and she tried to type something down, but you have no idea what she said, and I just feel like this wasn't the daughter's side of the story. This was the mother's side of the story. And the mother, of course, mothers like to give a good account of their children. Oh, she's this, she's that, she's this. And then she met this guy and it was, everything changed, everything. Is that her perspective or is that the child's perspective? Because the more I think about the story, the more I feel like that's only just the mother's perspective. I feel like the child's perspective is different, and I feel like the child's perspective when she met this guy, who's not really a child, I think she was 16 or 18 or something, when they met, and they've been dating for a long time. I feel like she liked this guy, she loved this guy. They said that she had feelings and she loved this guy. Hence, the opinions that were coming across were clearly just the mother's opinions and the father's opinions. The father said that she was different, she changed, and she became closed off and stuff like this. But yeah, if she loved him, then I would feel like she might have a different view or a different interpretation. I'm not convinced that this is actually her side of the story. I think this is the parent's side of the story. And then they have like half an hour of just going on about all the signs of abuse, and maybe one person seeing her being hit against the wall and called a nasty thing. So you build up this big horrible portrayal of this guy, and there was thousands of text messages where he was being quite rude and stuff, and then they mix it with clips of her looking paralyzed, looking beaten, looking destroyed. And then when you kind of come to the bit that actually caused her paralyzed, they kind of blasé it, like they bundle in a car. Was it the back or the front? It makes a difference. Why? Because if you're in the front seat, you know you're on a road, you know where you are. If you're in the back where there's no windows, you don't know where you are. If you try kicking a door open in the back, thinking that you're on a side road when really you're on a motorway, you might find yourself getting sucked out and dying. So that is a big crucial fact. But they never said it was in the back. And this couple of glimpses seem to indicate that she was on the front seat. Therefore, she was aware of where she was. She could see things around. If she's been into that in that van many times, she doesn't feel unsafe in this van. This is not like that. This is not like a proper kidnap where some stranger has just blindfolded you and shoved you in the back of a van. That's almost what it was implying. Like some stranger had just bundled her into the back of a van, and it turned out it was a boyfriend. It doesn't imply that, because there was some mild clips of her being in the front with a window, and then kind of her opening the door and jumping out, and then having this injury. but this is the only real, like, okay, the abuse, the text messages are obviously long. He was obviously in a terrible relationship, but I don't know. But the whole thing was kind of putting emphasis on her physical disability, her permanent physical disability. But if her permanent physical disability was literally just caused by her opening a door and jumping out of a moving vehicle at 60 miles per hour, that's not something he did, unless you know, it didn't say that he did it. It called the father was calling it an accident, and the mother said we don't know why she got out, but it indicated that she did get out of the vehicle, and therefore I just feel like it's a one-sided story, because, well, it's not. You've given the incident that caused this was her choosing to get out of a moving vehicle at 60 miles per hour, and therefore, you know, my opinion of it is my opinion of how much time he should get. You know, okay, she was only in this vehicle because he had grabbed her in quite a vicious way and then plonked her on the seat, and I don't know where he was planning on taking her. You know, surely that would be part of. You would say this, you know, if this whole story is about this event, then why is only 2 minutes of the conversation actually about the event, and all that's said about the event was that she was bundled into a car, and then she kind of jumped out the moving vehicle, and yet it's like you're using this incident as a proof that he is an aggressive monster who beats and you know, in an abusive relationship, but really the only abuse was just way too many text messages and him forcing her into a van. But it also states that they hadn't actually broken up at that stage. It's like they knew that they were going to break up, and therefore, you know, I think it would be a very different story if she had broken up with him, said I don't want to see you anymore, and then like a week later this happened. But the fact that they hadn't actually broken up, the fact that she was actually in that vehicle and tried to break up by leaving, and then he kind of grabbed her and brought her back, you know, it's, you know, the borderline of kidnap versus I'm going to lose this girl, I don't want to lose this girl, so I'm going to grab her, put her back in the vehicle, a vehicle that she was just in by choice, and then I'm going to take her. Maybe he was planning on taking her somewhere nice, making up for whatever, or trying to stop her from leaving. You know, it's not a good, and I don't like how the story tries to put all the blame on him, and yet in reality she is the one that opened the door when driving at 60 miles an hour on a motorway. She is the one that chose to jump out. You know, if you've bundled someone into a car against their will, it is bad. But if they were already in that car all day, if you've been dating for many years, and you know, and this was your last effort of trying to get her to not leave, why would she jump out when on a motorway? Why would she jump out when driving so fast? You can't really expect him to, like, try and grab her out the door that she's just thrown herself out of. You know, I don't care about him. I don't think he has a good. So it's not. I'm not even picking at this story because I care about how much time he gets. I'm picking at this story because I feel like this story has tried to place her condition, put all the blame on this partner. This is all the happening. This is all the things that he was doing, and now she's ended up like this. And for half an hour, the whole story is about trying to show all the things that he's done wrong in the relationship, whilst mixing it with clips that, you know, obviously she's paralyzed, she can't do much, and then you find out that actually the bit that causes, you know, the problem is actually something that she chose to do. You know, if you're going to jump out of a car, why not do it when you're on a small road? Why not do it earlier on? Why wait until you're on a motorway to do it? That's kind of what's bothering me, you know. I feel like there are stories where people are literally forced into the back of a van and literally have, you know, are pushed out of a moving vehicle. You know, if this was a story where a guy pushed their ex-partner out of it, or actually physically killed, you know, I'd feel a lot more sympathetic. But I feel almost deceived, you know, like the whole video was trying to demonize this guy as much as possible, and then you find out that the accident was actually caused by something that she chose to do. And yes, he does deserve prison for harassing text messages and for doing something that would lead to this. But yeah, I do see that whatever I've written about this story, I feel like I've got a different perspective on it, based on the fact that they were trying to use, you know, you see her in that condition, and you assume that maybe she's been attacked, hit, you know, had some physical violence done to her, and then you kind of feel, oh, all of this was caused just by her jumping out of a moving vehicle when on a motorway. And then it's just like, well, is that really his fault? Should he really be blamed for this? I think a lot of people wouldn't see it from that way. And a lot of people, you know, if you watch a documentary about violence, you know, an abusive relationship that ends up in murder or semi-murder, you know, you need to learn to tell the difference between something that's definitely that's caused because someone has actually inflicted this on you, versus something that's, you know, he did not inflict this on her. This is something she inflicted on herself by jumping out of a moving vehicle. And okay, he is partly responsible because, you know, she did that because she didn't want to be in that. But why do it on a motorway? Why choose to jump out? I think she's not very bright.